Hey, yeah, Mike's sending me a little message or something. Okay, just give me a second. I'm trying to see if I can watch this thing. Uh, yeah, I'm there. Okay, let me. Oh, gotta turn off the volume.
I'm there. Okay, let me. Oh.
Mike told me to put. There's like a thing for old people where you can enlarge the text on your screen, but not on my iPad. I have to do it on my laptop. So let's see here. What do I have to touch? I can't. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. I can read my little comments over here. So I'm learning. Hopefully, next time around, I can just like do this more professional. Okay, we're going to talk about COVID-19. You may have to look to the side of my face as I'm trying to read this. Clickbait equals stimulus updates. Yeah, you know what? I think the next video I do, I'm going to put stimulus package update for the title just to see if I can get 10 million people to watch me. Oh, a commercial. Okay, I understand, Nate. Y'all have to watch.
I understand, Nate. Y'all have to watch.
Y'all have to watch ads before you can watch the video. Oh, wait a minute. That way. We're gonna. I'm gonna talk about COVID-19. I'm not gonna give any opinions about the disease itself. There was a time when I had I was willing to speak my mind about it because I was the only one. You know, everybody was dividing up into teams. So like the Republicans were all saying that this is the worst thing that's ever happened to America. And then other people were saying, well, it's bad, but I don't think it's as bad as they make it out. And of course, a month or two went by, and people formed up into two teams. This is the worst thing that's ever happened in history, and this is fake. And so at this point, I can't really talk about it because once an idea gets turned into two teams, you need to stay away. There's no there's no reason to take sides in anything that the world is doing because it's like anything else. Teams are just a bad idea. All right, let's see what it says here. Uncle Nesta, hello, 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 hello. Back at you. Synoptic problem. Hey, Henry, I guess he got my email. He sent me a little email earlier asking what was going on. I said, I'm doing a TV show. Hello, my friend. Hello. Hey, you 96. Are you in the Central Time Zone? Yes, I am. This is Central Time, South Mississippi. Right now it is 4:03. Good to see you. I think there is not a gray area of what people believe on COVID. Yeah, okay. Enough said. I think I'm on your team, but I'm not on a team. But anyway, yeah, Mike Rogers says this is just as bad as 9/11. We are not of the world. Very good wisdom, Uncle Nesta. Chain of Hills, yes, a live video. Glad I caught. Now, I'm going to tell you my own experience, and I've made these videos before about don't get involved in teams and that kind of stuff. But there was a time when I was on a team. I was like a little kid, and I ended up going to school with black kids, and they beat me up, and I instantly knew that all black people were evil. But I was very, very fortunate that I eventually got moved into a white school, and they beat me up. And probably the best beatings I ever got because I instantly recognized there was a flaw to my previous thinking. But it didn't, what happened is I decided not to be on the black team or the white team, but there were still millions of teams out there for me to get involved in. And so I had to learn about those. One of them, like when I was in the Navy, in the Navy there are teams. You have what's called, there's the guys that are just in there, and after their 4 years they leave. And then you got guys that stay there forever, and they're lifers. And so they're very gung-ho, very usually they're team players, and they're very abusive. And the reason they were abusive is what I figured out later is because they all outranked me. The guys that were only in for 4 years and get out, they didn't outrank me, so they weren't abusive to me. But after they got out, I ended up on a website for the ship that I used to be on, and Facebook site, and the guys that just did their 4 years are just as evil as the guys that went for 30. So, even back then I was on a team and my team was wrong. And then there was also the Christian team. At one time I was on the Christian team because all Muslims were evil and they were all terrorists and all that kind of stuff. I don't think I ever really got my head straight until after the September 11th attacks, and I started running into Muslims and seeing that they were not all out to destroy America. And then I also kind of come to the understanding that, what's wrong with destroying America if that's what you want to do. It's like no sweat off my back. America's never done much of anything for me. All right, let's go back and look at some of these things here. For all who don't know, Uncle Nesta's friend has been told he has stage 4 esophagus cancer. His name is Mark Kearns, if anyone wants to pray for him. Okay, Uncle Nesta, I'll be right back. I'm staying on, but for about 10, whatever that is. Okay, BRB is be right back. Mike Rogers, cure for cancer, Dr. William Mount, YouTube. Hey, U96, Uncle Nesta, I wish Mark the best. Hope you can beat cancer, my friend. And Patricia says, greetings all from Patty in Ohio. I might come up there. Carlos is in Ohio. I may have to go up there to see him. If you're close by, we'll come pay y'all a visit. Discernment Files, greetings all. Writer 71, yo blessings. Matt Wilcox, it goes without saying to Kenite name Melchizedek is the bloodline of Jesus, and there were more than one to prevent the first advent from happening in a bid for Satan to save his life. I have to come back and read that later, see what that's all about. Chain of Hills, and the comment is below my little thing because I changed this to, oh, there you go, I'm back up. Yeah, okay, here's a good point. This person here, Chain of Hills, is saying, I don't vote. People get so upset that I don't vote. When Jesus was alive, the conservatives were called Pharisees, and the liberals of the time were called Sadducees. If you're reading about this in the Bible and you're in a church, the preacher will instantly tell you they're like the difference between Southern Baptists and regular Baptists or something. It's not like that. This is two political parties, and it was everybody that was, lived in the Roman Empire was Pharisee or Sadducee, and they hated each other. I mean, these people hated each other's guts, and John the Baptist wouldn't get involved, and Jesus wouldn't get involved. And so even though the Sadducees and Pharisees hated one another, they could join forces to defeat a common enemy. And that's what happened to Jesus. With the Republicans and the Democrats killed Jesus. And if Jesus came back today, the Republicans and Democrats would kill him all over again, if they could. All right, let's see here. Oh, Rider 71's in Ohio, too. That might be my first trip I ever take. Just go to Ohio and just visit everybody in Ohio and come back home. Patricia said it's raining finally. The Watchman News is on here. Henry, do you want to help me create a COVID vaccine from holy water? I have made a decision. I was so tickled with myself, I got to share this. Somebody said something about if you publish a book, I want to buy 10 copies. And I said, well, that's great, because even if I only sell 10 copies, it'll be worth it. I'm planning on selling them for $1 million a copy. But along with the book, you get a piece of my hair, a prayer cloth, and some holy water. It's like, if you ever watch Kenneth Copeland, you'd be like, I know what he's talking about. All right. Yeah, there you go. Discernment File says it's a forced Sabbath to usher in the Antichrist system, and that is That's what this is about. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the serious stuff, because these people that are outside of our little group are talking about losing their constitutional rights and losing businesses, and yeah, you know, if this is the only world you got, that's got to be a big issue. But for those of us who know this world is passing away, this right now, this COVID-19, real or fake, doesn't matter. We don't have to talk about. This is the single most wonderful thing that has ever happened in all of human history. Now, I'm not going to deny that Jesus being resurrected was a wonderful thing, but you know, since Jesus has left, 2,000 years of suffering have continued on, and this Sabbath, this forced annual Sabbath, this once every 7 year Sabbath, is the first really true sign that we're going back into the original cycles of time. You know, when God gave the 10 Commandments, go back and look at this. God gave Israel the 10 Commandments when he brought them out of Egyptian bondage. And it said, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. That's all. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. But when you get to, once he came down with that law and everybody was defaming his Sabbaths, he broke the 10 Commandments, and God said, well, go on up on top of the mountain again and make yourself a new set of laws. And he did, and he came down with this system of rituals and rules and regulations. And one of the things they had to do is once every 7 years, they had to stop work for a solid year in order so that they could be dependent on God. Well, the God they were being dependent on, I don't think it was the Creator. Because if they had to do that according to natural law, that would have been part of the 10 Commandments. You know, the Bible says the 10 Commandments were the wicked law. Now, let me see here. I got a thing here. This is a verse. Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 11 through 25, puts it like this. This is from the Bible. I gave them my decrees and made known to them my laws by which the person who obeys them could live. But they rejected those laws, so I gave them the worthless statutes and laws with which they could not live, or by which they could not live. Now, as part of that, he said that in the law, that the law required that you sacrifice your brothers and your sisters. And, you know, immediately after he gave the law, he asked the Levites, you know, who's willing to do this? And the Levites stepped forward and they said, we'll do it. And they said, well, kill your brothers and your sons. And they went out and they slaughtered 3,000 people, ritual human sacrifice. Now, it very clearly calls that a ritual human sacrifice, but also throughout the Bible, it calls warfare a ritual human sacrifice. It calls execution of criminals a ritual human sacrifice. And so basically, the people we're killing are our brothers and our sons. That's what the wars and, well, anything that supports civilization's infrastructure, transportation deaths, industrial accidents, any unnatural, violent death, that's a ritual human sacrifice that under natural law would never have to occur. Okay, let me get my screen back up and see what people are saying. A Chain of Hills says, I normally don't get involved with worldly things, but I had a weak moment last week because my children's school is requiring masks, and I didn't get a choice as the parent. Let me tell you something. When this started, I was laughing, you know, because, well, the first thing that happened, they were saying that this pandemic was coming, and I was looking at YouTube videos or whatever, and people in China were out, like, playing golf and falling over dead, or working at their restaurants and falling over dead, walking down the street and just falling over dead. And I believed it. I was like, wow, Mom, you know, this thing is coming, and it's horrible, and if it really gets here, we're going to be in some trouble. So I ordered some masks, and my mom said, the government needs to ban the internet. It's poisoning your mind. So a few days ago, I went in and said, Mom, you know, this is fake. But now, see, the networks have picked it up. And she really went off. she was screaming, and it's people like you that are causing people to die. And so it doesn't matter what the truth is. What matters is, does it come from God, NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox. But anyways, from the very beginning, I've always been the best at the pandemic, even before they had it, because I'm a hermit, so it's not like I make a lot of unnecessary trips to places. But when they said it was a pandemic, by the time it started really sinking in, I was thinking, okay, I don't know that we really have to worry about this. But I would go to the store and I'd see people walking around with masks. So I brought a mask with me and I kept it on me. And the first time I saw somebody giving me an evil look, somebody wearing a mask give me an evil look, I went, oh! And I put my mask on, right? And I went a little further, and somebody without a mask on looked at me, and they were like, and I went, oh, just a joke. I wouldn't actually wear one of these, and took it off. I'm like the guy, if there's 10 people at a location wearing masks and 100 people walk in without a mask, those 10 people will surround me and beat me. So, I'm always doing whatever it takes to keep from getting beat up. And you know what? I got a scripture for that too. Let's go. Well, let me read some more of these comments. Jaboom Blue is in Ohio. Future SNC airport at the end of the road. 69 there's from Phuket. Be careful how I say that. Manchester, UK. Mike Rogers says, did we ever really have any rights? Well, let me tell you. And this is how you think about the mask thing, because it's kind of being told how to dress is kind of intrusive. It doesn't matter if somebody, because it's not anybody's business how you dress. Of course, if people think that wearing purple shoes causes a disease, well, don't wear purple shoes. Whatever's in their head, you need to kind of feel them out and just don't offend them, because this is about to be a war. And when the war starts, you really want to be sitting there in a lawn chair with a cold one, just watching. You don't want to be out there with a stick or a knife or something. But when I was little, I remember we went to the store all the time with Mama, and be me and my brother and my cousins, and we always just wore shorts. And one of my cousins was a little girl. We were like 3 to 6 years old. And I can remember a time came when everybody was upset because somebody went up to my uncle and said, it's disgusting that your daughter's walking around topless, 3-year-old girl, 4-year-old girl. And I thought, well, why would somebody say something so hateful, But, now you can't do that. And I remember one time I went to the store and the people said, you can't come in here without shoes and a shirt. I was probably 16 then. And it was the first time I'd ever had that happen to me. And it kind of bothered me, but I thought, well, I'm a kid and they're grown-ups. They know what they're doing, But, you get to a point where people are trying to tell you that, okay, now you have to wear a hat and some cowboy boots and a Star Trek emblem on your chest or something. People always concern themselves with other people's clothing. I don't understand how that works. I remember when I was going to church, and a woman would come in and she looked better than the old hags that were already there, and they'd all be like, look how she's dressed. What a slut. And I'd be like, I like it. But then what really bothered me is men, normal adult men looking at women and judging them because they're not wearing enough clothing or something. And I was like, it wasn't that long ago that everybody in this country was walking around naked. And the only reason they're not doing that now is because the people who weren't naked were shooting guns at them. And I'll get back to my scripture in a minute. Let me see if I can see what some of the... You know what? I'm gonna try to avoid all the things about whether or not the pandemic is real or fake, because I don't want that to be for me. That can be, y'all can talk about that. All right. Well, hey, what's really cool? I don't have one on now, but I got to thinking, there's people that are walking around in stores You know that thing I wear on my head that's like a tube? It's like a big sock with the end cut off, and you put that over your head and you pull your dreadlocks, and you put that through that tube, and it keeps your hair out of your face. But other people are wearing them for a mask. I'm like, well, shoot, I don't even have to buy a mask. I can just use that thing. If I get in a bind, I'm walking around with that on my head and somebody gives me a mean look, I just... But in all honesty, when I started getting all these mean looks, I started thinking, God, please make it against the law to not wear a mask, because right now there's no law. It's your personal choice. But if you make a personal choice, you're offending someone. But if they take your personal choice away, you can go in there and be safe. And yeah, does it bother me that I'm not free? Yeah, but I'm only not free for like 70 or 80 years, right? After that, I'm free for eternity. So yeah, I'll be a slave for a little while longer. And if it saves me from getting mocked or laughed at or hollered at or punched, I just much rather they make the decision, because no matter what decision I make, it's gonna offend somebody. So let's go. Well, let me look at some of this here. I don't want to ignore anybody, but I do have a few things I want to cover, and Tonto may get off of work soon and call me, and I'll have to go pick him up. Finally made it. By the way, I happen to have a cold one. I would too, but I usually drink 6 or 7 cold ones, and I start saying things that aren't as reasonable as you're used to hearing. All right. Wait a second. Hey, we did it. Snood. Oh, snood. Okay, yeah, that's what that tube is on my head. It's called a snood. I forgot all about that. What I use, neck bandana. Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes when I'm wearing my snood, I want to show off my hair. I mean, what's the point of wearing it? And then, because this little bit up here is about to go away. As long as it's there, I want to take advantage of it. But I'll pull that thing down around my neck. And in fact, about a week ago, I got out to the car and I went looking for my snood and I couldn't find it. And I thought, man, I'm going back in the store. I got to find my snood because it's brand new and I just put it on. And I got halfway to the store and I reached up and it was around my neck. And I was like, oh, that's good. Oh, okay, somebody uses one of them. I guess it's like a filter for some kind of a air conditioner or something. Okay, yeah. 69. Phuket has not been shot yet. That's a snood. I bought a snood. Was a Tom Turkey's booger. Okay, I think I'm back to, that's that thing that hangs over on a turkey. They've got that. I think that's what he's talking about. Tom Turkey's booger. All right, here's my text document. Oh, where did it go? There it goes. All right, listen to this and listen carefully. This is why, if you're a really good person, you're always in trouble. Okay? Listen carefully. You may even want to write this down because the whole thing is really, really deep. Actually, don't read the whole thing because you'll get lost. It'll mess with your head. Matthew chapter 11, verses 7 through 19. And so people are questioning Jesus about John the Baptist because he's a crazy man. He's out there in the woods running around wearing goat skin and leather belt and, eating bugs. And he said, what did you expect to see when you went out there? Some guy wearing fancy clothes. If you want somebody wearing fancy clothes, you need to go to the palace to look for a prophet. But he is a prophet. He's a real prophet. And he says, why do they do all these horrible things to him? And so he said, but what can I compare this generation to? So he's talking about John the Baptist and how people thought about him. So to what shall I compare this generation? It's like little children sitting in the marketplaces and calling to their playmates, we played the flute for you, and you did not dance. We sang a dirge for you, and you did not mourn. This is what Jesus meant by it. And, you know, when you go online and look this up, the preachers all over the place can't figure out what this means. It seems pretty obvious to me. It says, John came, neither eating nor drinking, and they say, he has a demon. The Son of Man came, drinking and eating, and they say, look at him, a glutton and a friend of tax collectors and sinners. And, you know, when I was in church, everybody said, well, that's a false accusation. Jesus wouldn't drink. Look at the whole verse. Well, you can't. But it says, the Son of Man came, eating and drinking, and they say, look at him, a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. So think about this. Jesus is saying they were accusing him of being a friend of tax collectors. Is that true? He was. He was a friend of tax collectors. I mean, one of his apostles was a tax collector. Was he a friend of sinners? Yeah. Now, I'm not saying he was a friend of axe murderers. He was a friend of the people who were considered sinners by society. You know, sex, drugs, rock and roll people, hobos, people that no one else wanted, people that did not conform. So obviously, Jesus liked to eat and he liked to drink, and he was friends with people that were throwaways. So yeah, it's true that he did those things, but calling him out on it, it wasn't their business. It wasn't their business what he was doing. But the point is, if you don't drink to satisfy them, they'll find something else wrong with you. If you do drink to satisfy them, they'll find something else wrong with you. Now, the people that were making the accusations, probably in the group were those who drank and those who didn't drink. And that's the way it always is. You know, it's like, I guess in my lifetime, a lot of people be involved in something, and I would be involved in it, and I would get in trouble, and it wouldn't even be anything bad. I just, you know, whatever I do, like in my neighborhood, this is a true story. You know, I went around after Hurricane Katrina, I cut everybody's trees that were laying on their houses and stuff. I cut them all up and stacked them up and burned them. And they were supposed to come help me, but they didn't. So a few days later, I cut all my trees and stacked them up and burned them, and guess who showed up? The police. Because my neighbors, who I had cut trees off of their houses for, called the police on me to turn me in for burning trash. That's how people are. They don't have a problem with me burning trash. They have a problem with me because I'm a righteous man, and they're religious people. Okay, let me get back to my thing here. Seemed like I had more stuff on here. Oh yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that if you're a typical Republican, white, American Christian, you know, you can do just about anything and not get in trouble. And it's not because of those things. Just as long as you're on teams. If you're on a team, usually not get in trouble. You'll argue with people that aren't Christian. You'll argue with people that aren't white. But there's a verse, and I was going to look it up. It says, Cain, he said, love your brother. Not like Cain, who killed his brother. And why did Cain kill his brother? Was it because Abel was wicked? No, Cain killed Abel because Abel was good. So if you're a good person, this is the kind of stuff that's going to happen to you. You know, the whole point of this is that I'm trying to just let you know that this is not the time to be trying to fix civilization. It's in a downward spiral, you know, falling quick. It's not going to be around much longer. And if you're trying to save it by making people wear a mask or telling people to fight for their constitutional rights, well, when those two teams are destroyed by God, you risk being destroyed by God too, because it's coming. And some of us, it says, will be able to actually witness the end of civilization, and instead of dying, we get changed in the twinkling of an eye. Now, the end result is the same, because there's going to be a resurrection of the righteous and the unrighteous. So all of those people who died Armageddon, they're not going to go to hell. They're not going to go out of existence. But I just think it would be better to watch all this stuff happen, knowing what's going to happen, especially after waiting 6,000 years for it to happen, than to be out there participating in it and being hacked to death or shot to death or tied to a stake and set on fire. You know, it's not like there's any guarantees that that won't happen to us, but, you know, it's just like anything else. If you go 100 miles an hour without a seatbelt, your risk level increases. You know, so just we're going to kind of mitigate the risk by not being part of that nonsense. Now, here's another thing. Going back to the types of people that, I got to get back and read some comments, I guess. But anyways, the people saying, oh, you drank, John the Baptist didn't drink. He was demon possessed. Jesus drank. He's an alcoholic. It said, the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, this is Ezekiel 38, 1 through 6. And I really should have done more research on this because I think I know what it's about. I'm pretty sure I know what it's about. I've always thought I knew what it was about, but I might be wrong. But anyway, it says, the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, set your face towards Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him and say, thus says the Lord God, behold, I am against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn you about and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you out in all your army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed in full armor, a great host, all of them with buckler and shield, wielding swords. Persia, Cush, and Put are all with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his hordes, Beth Togarmah, from the utmost parts of the north, with all his hordes. Many people are with you. I've always seen this as a prophecy about Armageddon. And so the point I'm making here is that this is addressed to Satan and all of his nations. You know, these nations, we watch them. You can analyze it and say, well, you know, what happened, the dollar collapsed in 1930, and that caused a collapse in France and then Japan. You can analyze it if you want. But what this says, this is God, the Lord God. I will put a hook in your jaw and drag you where I want you. That's what's happening now. So if you're out there fighting against a mask or fighting for a mask, you're trying to change what God is doing. God is dragging these fools into this mess. And it's fun to watch, you know, especially now that they made it a law and you ain't got to make no decisions, you know. I mean, it's terrible, but it's just a little while longer. Then this is great because we have never had anything this silly or this is out of character. We've got maybe every decade or so some invisible entity on the other side of the planet is threatening our freedom, and if you go over there, they're hearing about some invisible entity on this side of the planet threatening their freedom. And this has been going on for thousands of years. So that's worse than a pandemic. You know, the thing where you send millions of children out to kill millions of other children, that's worse. But we're used to that. You know, what's going on now is not that big of a deal, but we're not used to it. You know, just get used to it. It won't take long. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, let me go back and see if I can read some of these comments. We got so many comments, I'm sure. I'll never catch up with this. I'm using this, sir. So, I was born a summer of love, 1969. A mere child. Oh, here's a grown up. Born in 53. I was born in 62. I feel lucky because, you know, I'm really thinking now. If this is, and I don't know if I finished this statement earlier, but if this is a reestablishment of the Sabbath, I honestly believe it has to be the last Sabbath. I don't think it's the first. We're not going to have to go 49 more years. This is a one-year Sabbath. And if it's the last one-year Sabbath, what that means is the next Sabbath is a two-year Sabbath. That's the Jubilee. This is being done by Satan. The next one will be done by God because I've said before, you know, the only person that can forgive debts of civilization is Satan. But the two-year Sabbath, the Jubilee, all debts were forgiven. All people that lost their family land got their land back. All people who owed money, all who had become enslaved. All that was forgiven. Everybody went back to their land. Everybody didn't know. Nobody owed anybody anything. So that doesn't sound like Satan. That sounds like what God's going to do when he sends Jesus back. Because remember, the wage of sin pays is death. And if Jesus comes back with the resurrected dead, then their sins are paid. And the same thing with giving the land back to the people. You know, right now the land is divided up to the nations who belong to Satan. With Satan gone, the nation's gone, the earth goes back to, as Jesus said, the meek shall inherit the earth. So that's going to be done away with. So think about what that means. We're about 4 months into this, right? So we got what left? 8 months at the end of the Sabbath. When we hit the spring equinox, this will come to an end. They'll have a miracle cure. Something will happen. They'll stop it. That means there's only 6 years to the end, because when the Jubilee starts, that's the end. So right now we got, 6 years and 8 months. Now, rather than going around telling people that, because it may not be true, just watch and see. Because if we've got 6 years and 8 months left, what that means is we have 3 years and 2 months before the sun and the earth and the moon go back into conjunction. All right, let's see here. Evil's going to self-destruct. Yeah, and I guess a lot of people are wondering, well, why is it taking so long? Well, there's a lot of trees, you know. Not too many people. It takes a long time to cut down every tree on the planet. Not only that, but you realize how much petroleum is flowing through the earth? It takes a lot of work to pump all the petroleum out of the earth, you know. That's the blood system of the earth. You know, can't kill the earth until you take all of its blood out. Well, there's going to be a great falling away. The great apostasy must happen before. Yes, that is true. What does it say? Christ cannot return until the man of lawlessness is revealed. And I used to think maybe that's the serpent, until the serpent is revealed. Because Satan's coming back in the flesh. Maybe he'll come back as a T-Rex. You know, he's a serpent, a reptile. But I'm thinking, it says the anthropos of lawlessness. The anthropos is human. The human of lawlessness is not, I mean, the way it's worded, it could be a woman of lawlessness. But, you know, when you think about Satan in the past was male, probably this time around he'll be male as well. Oh my, I am missing so much stuff. Well, you know what, while you're listening to me, y'all could all be watching these, looking at these things. And yeah, there you go, discernment files. In 60 years, this is the way most biblical thing that has ever happened. That's what I'm saying. We are living in the greatest time in human history so far. 3.5 years from now, this is going to look like nothing. You know, when you look up in the sky and there's the sun in the middle of the sky in the middle of the day, and there's the moon in the middle of the sky in the middle of the day, and the sun and the moon are never in the sky together again, you'll know we've gone back to the 360-day year. And to confirm it, 6 months after that, one of the planets is going to return. So you'll have 2 objects as big as the moon going around our Earth. And then 6 months after that, another one will show up, and another one. And eventually the entire solar system will be restored. On that day, all planets and moons will go into alignment, and that's when Christ returns. That's another reason to survive this. Because if you miss it, it takes 1,000 years for that to happen again. I mean, if you look at all the cycles of time that are recorded in the Bible, it looks to me that total planetary alignment only happens once every thousands of years. It's like our solar system's a great big clock, and once a day the sun goes up and the moon goes down, and then once a week something would happen. Once every 30 days something would happen. Once every 360 days something would happen. And those cycles go on. I think that's why we have that once every 7-year Sabbath, once every 49-year Sabbath, and once every 1,000-year Sabbath. And actually once every 7,000 years. All right, let me get back to looking at this. Everybody's talking about their age. All right. Do I see them? If I'm missing anything, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to scan through this. Genesis 129 marijuana license here too. Puff. Yeah. Hey, you know what? I don't know. With this deadly pandemic, I don't know if I want to damage my lungs with smoke because I could be susceptible to falling over while I'm playing golf and not getting back up. All right, before I close this meeting, wow, we've only been doing this for 39 minutes, but I want to look at my little document one more time and see if I'm leaving anything out. That's it. That's all the notes I had for the pandemic. So I guess I should shut that and bring this back up so I can read it. Oh, by the way, I was saying earlier that I had to get Mike to kind of coach me through how to do this stuff. And what he decided, maybe I already said this, it's okay if you just came in and you didn't hear me say it, is to enlarge the screen of my laptop and be like y'all. Go on my laptop, turn everything on, and I can read all that stuff over there, which is why I'm looking over there. Chain of Hills. I use CBD oil. I use CBD oil too, but mine isn't the real stuff. You know, it's just CBD oil without the THC. I mean, if they I've heard that it's better if you had it with the THC, and if they were to make that legal around here, I probably would get it simply because I've had such fantastic results with the regular CBD oil. I don't know why. I'm not like usually susceptible to fake stuff, so it must be something to it. All right, let's see. Uncle Nestor put his phone up here and it says, don't show this. Oh, no, hey, he wants it up there. Okay, if you want to talk to Uncle Nestor, here's his phone number. I'm going to do it, Uncle. Okay, there you go. Oh, I figured that out. That's good. Shake and bake. Okay. I know I'm going to Ohio now. All right, my MJ, best medicine going. CBD is the real. I'm mixing elderberry syrup into grape juice. Delicious. Okay, well, that's good. You know, I'm thinking about that. Elderberry juice, and grape juice, and vodka. That won't mess it up, will it? New Leaf Naturals in Colorado. Look it up. It's real and good. I don't know where I get mine from, but the only reason I get the one I get is my mom talked me into it because, you know, somebody had told her about it and she wasn't interested, and then she saw something on the networks, and so she had to have it. So I found this place that they give you, I think, 50% off if you're a veteran or if you're on EBT. It's called Lazarus Naturals. And so I got my little bottle. It's still not cheap. And it's like $80. I get it for 40. But it lasts me a long time. Every night I take, about one dropper full and just put it under my tongue. Somebody said to do that. I don't know if it makes a difference. But, my back, I've always whined about my back. And even after my back stopped hurting, I talked about it. But in all honesty, my back has been feeling great for a while. Now, when I started working on that old truck, I was coming home really, really hurting. And there were days I couldn't do much of anything because I hurt so bad. But normally I was going years with just constant pain and no matter what I did. So now, I take it easy and I take CBD oil. Good. All right, let's just say Mike's saying we got 58 watching. Thanks, Mike. Okay, Uncle Ness has eliminated beef and pork from his diet. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, we're talking about why this is a religious ritual. Whether it's real or not, it is a religious ritual. Is that if you go back in the book of Genesis when Adam and Eve were hiding from God, and God said, "Why are you hiding from me?" He said, "Because we're naked." And he said, "Who declared you to be naked?" That's what he said, And the way it's presented in the church is that they were naked. God just didn't know how to tell them about it. So somebody snuck in and told them. But it says that God made them clothing of skins. And that's what people believe, that God killed some animals and took their skins and made clothes for them. That's not what it says. It basically says God gave them burkas. It said he gave them cloth to cover. He gave them cloth to cover everything except for the palms of their hands and the soles of their feet. And that comes back later when Jezebel is thrown out of the tower, and the dogs eat her. And all that was left was the palms of her hands and the soles of her feet. So here we are. This is the Western world. We are now getting the same burqa that Adam and Eve asked for. You know, okay, God, we'll talk to you, but you got to give us something to cover our mouths up. And not only that, you go back and look at the rules as they've come along. There's still people wearing shorts, short sleeves, and short pants. I wouldn't doubt that they put an end to that for some reason, you know, because if they make an announcement on the networks that short pants causes a disease, people will stop wearing short pants without a law being made. They'll just do it. So the next thing is, what else happened according to the Jewish law code, the wicked law that was given to the Israelites when they refused to live by the Ten Commandments? Well, they had to start sacrificing animals. And I don't know where it's at, but if you've ever read the account of Solomon building the temple, you know, Solomon was actually an illegitimate king. I don't know if you know that or not, but if you go back and read Matthew's lineage of Jesus, it says that David had a son, Solomon. It doesn't say by Bathsheba. It says Solomon by the wife of, I can't think of his name now, but Bathsheba's, you know, was married supposedly when David took her, and he got her pregnant while she was still considered in a covenant relationship with her husband, boyfriend, whatever you want to call him. And so Solomon was born from that. So even though Solomon was a biological son of David, he really wasn't his son because he was born to the wife of another man. So anyway, what was the other thing? Yeah, when Solomon dedicated the temple, you know, David wanted to build a temple, and God said, no, I want a man of peace. And so Solomon ended up building the temple. Well, it doesn't mean that Solomon was a peaceful man. What it means is that David had been fighting against worshipers of Satan, and God wanted a king who was friends with the worshipers of Satan, because he didn't want the temple. He told David, and it's part of the law that if you ever build anything out of stone, it will make the sacrifices worthless. And so here was this stone temple, and if you go back and read that, it's like Solomon sacrificed like 1 million animals. This is like, it must have gone on for weeks with people just killing one animal after another, draining the blood out, throwing the bodies on a fire and burning them. So, you know, that's what's going on now. Here's the thing about this. They say that nothing can be open unless it's essential. So they shut down every mom and pop food store, said you're not essential, but they left the liquor stores open. And, you know, it kind of actually makes sense. You take liquor away from an alcoholic, it could be problematic. But then they said that people who are truck drivers could keep driving trucks, but you can't deliver animal feed. You know, the result of that was pretty predictable. You know, all these farmers with millions of pigs, millions of cows, and no way to feed them. So they had to go dig these humongous holes in the ground and just kill all of their cows and pigs and throw them in that hole. And it was just because truck drivers who deliver animal feed are non-essential. And this is going right back to the sacrifices of the temple. You know, here's one of the things that kind of bothers me and worries me now, as I've been saying that the temple would be rebuilt, and it's possible that it will be, because there's all kinds of conspiracy theorists saying they've already got all the stuff. But maybe the whole earth is being turned into the temple, because these sacrifices are going on everywhere. You know, according to Jewish law code, you can't kill a cow unless you bring it to the temple. All right, we'll read through these a little bit and maybe call it a night. Oh yeah, back to Uncle Nessa's diet. As you get older, you start having trouble with things that are like meats and fats and stuff. It's like if I eat a salad, I usually feel really good. I don't know how much nutrition you can get out of leaves and olive oil, you know, cucumbers and tomatoes and stuff. but I enjoy salads. But I'll eat a chicken leg quarter and get really sick, or a pork chop can make me sick, and it seems like the older I get, the worse that gets, where I have to eat less and less meat. I may eventually be forced into not eating meat, and really the only reason I eat meat is because of religious reasons. The networks and scientists say you should, and like I say, that's just a religion. But I've also got problems with family members and stuff. If I were to stop eating meat, my wife complained. They'd have the police over here, so I keep preparing meat. Abednego? Well, let's see. Abednego's actually, the names of those three kids, Uncle Nestor wants to change the name to Abednego. It's a cool name because it sounds weird. No one else would have it. But it was actually Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego were Babylonian names that were given to Mishael, Daniel, Mishael, Mishael. I can't remember. Samuel, I don't remember their names, but they had regular Hebrew names. And when they were dragged off into Babylonian captivity, they were put in school to become leaders in the Jewish, or it was the Jewish. At that time, it was no longer Israel, it was Jewish. So the Jewish Babylonian cities, they needed leaders. So they sent Daniel and them to school. Yeah, too much bread hurts me, Mike Rogers. That's all right. Yeah, you living off of a small stipend for 60, 70 years ain't nothing, because you get a lifetime of peace when it's all over with. It really blows my mind when people dedicate their entire life to their position in the hierarchy. Always struggling to improve their credit score, always trying to get into a better neighborhood, always trying to get a better car, always trying to get more money. And they'll do that when they're laying in the hospital on oxygen. People just cannot get it. Oh, hey, okay, Joe Serrano's got a neighbor named Nahum, and yeah, it's an Old Testament name. Okay, I don't want to shut y'all all down, but this is uncomfortable for me, because I can't, if I was in my leaning back in my recliner, which I can't do because I got this, I'm strapped to this thing, and I can't use my laptop because I don't have a program to do this. But I'm going to go ahead and call it quits. And I'm going to try to remind myself, from now on, I want to start every video by saying the sun and the moon and the earth are about to go back into conjunction, because the closer we get to it, I want to make sure there's evidence of me saying that before it happens. I didn't open up today, but I'm going to close by saying that. As always, the sun and the earth and the moon are about to go back into conjunction. If you don't want to survive, don't listen to me. Does anybody remember how I turned this thing off before? Where's Mike? Where's Mike Rogers at? No, that ain't it. There's an X. Let's see what happens when I click that X. Are you sure you want to stop? Yeah, end. If I do this 3 times a day for the next 2 months, I'll have it all figured out.